All right, it's time for the Year of Gloves Glove 2. I hope you had fun with the first one. So this was Glove 1, was the Block Party Glove, and here is Glove 2. So this is one of our more basic ones. It really uses single crochet back loop only a lot. That's basically the entirety of the glove besides the, well, even pretty much the cuff. So this one is really easy to modify for different sizes. You can see this here is where the seam kind of happens, but it kind of hides in the, well, it's not even the seam, it's where the increases are. So this is one of the few gloves where it's not in joined turned rows. So once you get past the cuff, we're going to do the cuff first, and then we'll do the glove, and that will be worked in continuous rounds. So this cuff is relatively small. If you like to have your ribbing a little bit bigger, you're welcome to add stitches to that. Super easy to do. So let's take this one off. So I'm just like the previous glove, I'm going to demonstrate the 7-inch size only because that is the size I happen to wear. So if you wear the other sizes, the basic technique is the same. You can get the stitch counts from the printed pattern, the links in the description. You can purchase the whole set for $25, or each individual pattern is $5.50. And if you are measuring, you're going to put a flexible tape measure around the 4 knuckles of your hand all the way around. Or if you don't have a flexible tape measure, just put a piece of yarn around and then measure how long the yarn is. So again, I'm using a DK weight yarn. I've got Swish DK. This color is Dove Heather, and I have a size G or 4mm crochet hook. You'll need 2 of these balls of yarn to make a pair of gloves, but these come in 50-gram balls. So if you're buying a yarn that comes in 100 grams, then you'll just need 1. All right, so to get started, I'm going to do a chain 7. Now, if you wanted to do a larger ribbing, you would just increase the number of chain stitches you do here. Now I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from my hook and across. So it's going to be 6 single crochet. Now I'll chain 1 and turn. I'm going to single crochet back loop only across. So not in that chain, that doesn't count as a stitch. Do 6 single crochet in the back loop only. So if you're not familiar with that, if you look at the top of the stitch, there's a front loop and the back loop. I'm skipping the front loop and just inserting my hook in the back loop. And then doing the single crochet normally. I'm going to do this 28 more times, so I will have 30 total rows of single crochet. I'm not counting the first chain as a row, so I want 30 rows of single crochet, and then we'll join the cuff into a ring. When you've finished your 30 rows, you need to join to your starting row to make a cuff. So I will still do a chain 1 just to give me a little extra room, and then I'll put them together. You can join this really I use slip stitches, and I usually go through both loops here and both loops here. You can play around. They are going to look differently. The join is going to look different depending on which loops you go through, so you can play around with which ones you think look best. I honestly can never remember which way I like it best, so I just end up defaulting on this. So I'm just slip stitching together along all 6 stitches of this cuff. And I'm not going to count this slip stitch row as a row on the next step. Okay. Okay, so now you can see this is what my join looks like on this side. And this is what it looks like on this side. So you can decide which side you want to be the outside of your cuff, depending on which side you think looks better. I really think it doesn't matter too much. Maybe I like this side better. So I'm going to turn it this way. Just whatever way you decide, that's going to be the outside of your cuff for the rest of the glove. So just make sure you like what you choose. Now I'm going to get my yarn back on my hook. And I'll chain one, just again, to get a little bit of height. Now what I'm going to do is a single crochet in each row around the cuff. So I'll end up with 30 single crochet because I'm going to do one per row. So if you're looking at your cuff, you can see these ridges and these divots. So one row, second row, one row, second row. So each dip is 2 rows. So here, this is kind of in the middle of a dip. So I'm just going to do my first stitch here. It doesn't matter exactly where you place it, just as long as there's one per row when you're done. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to keep going like this all the way around, so I should have 30. All right, so that was my 30th stitch. Now I'm going to place a stitch marker here. This is optional, but since we're not joining each round, I do find it useful to keep track of your rounds. Okay, so I'm not joining. I'm going to keep working continuously around, but I'm going to switch from single crochet to single crochet in the back loop only. So again, I'm going to skip that first loop and work only in the back loop. I'm going to single crochet, back loop only, all the way around. Now when I get to this 30th stitch, I'm going to move my stitch marker up, so I took it out. I'm working that last stitch, and I'm replacing the stitch marker. So I'm just going to keep that in the last stitch of each round. Now in this next round, I'm going to do 2 increases. So we're going to, I'm just going to say single crochet instead of single crochet back loop only because it's a pain, but from here on out, it's pretty much always single crochet back loop only. So I'm going to do 14 single crochet and then an increase where I'll do 2 single crochet in the same stitch. And then I'll do that twice. So I did 14 regular stitches, and I'm going to do 2 single crochet in this stitch. That's my increase. Now I'll do 14 and then another increase. So in my last stitch, I'm going to do an increase, so 2 single crochet in the last stitch, and then replace my stitch marker. So now for the next 5 rows or rounds, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do an increase on each side of the glove. So it's going to happen the exact same way, except the number of single crochet you do before the increases by 1 each time. So this next round we'll do 15 single crochet, then an increase. The round after that, 16 single crochet, and then an increase, all the way up until your stitch count is 42. So I'm going to go do those 5 rounds off camera, and then I'll come back. The next round, we're just going to single crochet around, and then we're going to do 1 more increase round. So I should have 42 stitches now. And I forgot to mention, so this glove, when my testers tested it, we found that the single crochet back loop only, there was a high variability in gauge. So for some people, their single crochet back loop only ends up significantly taller than their regular single crochet, and for me it actually compresses a tiny bit. So really be aware of that. You might need to adjust your sizing. So there's a couple places in here where you can reduce the length if you find that your stitches are much taller than mine. And coming up is one of those places. So I'm going to do a row of single crochet around with no increases here. And since I'm doing the 7-inch size, that's going to give me 42. I should have 42 stitches in this round. Okay, and now this next round I'm going to increase twice again. So I'll do 20 single crochet, an increase, 20 single crochet, and an increase. So I should end up with 44 stitches at the end of this round. Oh, and if you hate how this, how it looks to have the stitches the increases all stacked on top of each other, you can absolutely stagger them on the sides. That's totally fine. It didn't bother me, so I just left it how it was, although I do often stagger my increases on clothes. Alright, so here, if you're finding that your stitches are a little bit taller than mine, this is a great place for you to be able to reduce your length. So the next step, we're going to do 5 rows of single crochet back loop only around. So if you're finding that it's getting too tall, you can reduce the number of rows you do here. So I've got 5 written in the pattern for the 7-inch glove. Feel free to reduce that number if you feel like it's getting too long. After we finish these 5 rounds, we're going to have another 5 rounds before the thumb separation if you're doing the 7-inch glove. So you can kind of gauge where that's going to hit on your thumb and if you need to take out any of those rows for the length to be right. So I'm going to go ahead and do these 5 rounds off camera, and then we'll come back and do the last few rounds before the thumb separation. Alright, this round I'm going to single crochet 21, then do an increase, and then do 22. I should end up with 45 stitches for this size glove. So I'm just doing one increase on the pinky side, thumb side. One increase on the thumb side. Now an increase. And now I will just single crochet to the end of the round. And I'm going to do one more round of single crochet back loop only around. Alright, now it's our last increase before our thumb separation. So this next round I'm going to do 22 single crochet, then an increase again on the thumb side, then finish the round, and then I will do 2 more rounds of single crochet around, and then I will show you how to do the thumb separation. Alright, this next round, it's time for the thumb separation. So it's actually pretty simple. We're going to start with 17 single crochet just to get over to the thumb regions. Now we'll chain 3, skip 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we're going to keep working single crochet around in the back loop only still. So we'll have 18 more single crochet around. So this here is our thumb. This hole we left, that's our thumb hole. And we will come back and add some rows to that thumb at the end. The next round, we're just single crocheting around. When you get to this chain, you can either work into each chain stitch or you can work 3 single crochet across the chain. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, and I honestly don't even remember which way I did it when I did the first glove, because it really does not impact the final outcome. So this time I think I'm going to just work into the chain. So I'm going to do 3 single crochet across this chain. And then I'll just keep going, single crochet back loop only all the way around. Now for the next 4 rounds, I have done decreases right here at the thumb join. Now you don't have to do that. I don't do it in most of my glove patterns, but because this one is relatively tight fitting, it's designed to be tight fitting, so you can see how it goes in here. So if you look at your hand shape, after the thumb separation, it does kind of gradually come in a little bit to your knuckles. If you don't want to do these thumb decrease or these decreases on the thumb side, you can just single crochet around until it is whatever length you want and then weave in the ends and skip to where we finish the thumb. If you do want to do the decreases, all we're doing is single crocheting to the thumb side, decreasing, and then finishing the round for the next 4 rounds. So for this size, the next round I'm going to do 18 single crochet, a decrease, then 18. The round after that, 17, decrease, 18. The round after that, 17, decrease, 17. And the round after that, 17, decrease, then 16. So I'll show you the first decrease. And then after those 4 decrease rounds, you just do single crochet around until you get to the length that you want. So I did, I think, 6 more rows after that. But I will show you the first decrease in case you're not sure how to do the decrease. So first we have to get over to that region. So I'm going to do 18 single crochet, back loop only still always for this pattern. So to do the decrease, it's just like a single crochet decrease you've probably done before, but it's just through the back loop only. So insert through the back loop, pull up a loop, insert through the next back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. So you've worked into 2 stitches to make 1. And then just keep working single crochet around until you get back to the beginning of the round. And just like with the increases, the exact placement of that decrease doesn't matter so much. As long as you just put it on the thumb side, you don't really have to count your stitches if you don't want to. So I'm going to finish this round. I will do 3 more decrease rounds. Then I will do 6 regular single crochet around rows to finish off the finger section. And then I will come back and show you how to finish the thumb. So when I said 6 more rounds, what I really meant was 5.5 more rounds because I'm ending on the thumb side. It doesn't actually really matter where you end. I just like to do it here because it kind of hides the end. And I also, on the last round, will typically join with an invisible join, which isn't truly invisible, but it's about as invisible as I can get. So to do that, I just pull the yarn out. So that's my last stitch there. I often actually, let me go back one bit here. I will usually do a slip stitch on the last stitch before the join. So I just undid a stitch there. So instead of a single crochet, I'm just going to do a slip stitch instead. And I do that only to get it a little bit closer to the rest of the stitches so that when I join it, it's not so obvious. That's not required. It's just what I like to do. And you can always just join with a regular slip stitch if you want. But I'm going to do my invisible join. Now usually I do an invisible join through both loops there, but since I've been doing back loop single crochet, I'm just going to do it through the back loop. So I'm going to go under the back loop, pull it through, and then bring it back up and go back down through this stitch. And then I'll weave this end in. Alright, so now we just need to finish the thumb. So we've got this thumb hole. We're going to join, and you can join anywhere you want on here. Depending on which glove it is, I like to join on whatever the palm side is going to be so that it doesn't show as much on the back of the hand. But like I said, it doesn't really matter where you join. So I'm just going to insert, I'm still working back loop only, so I'm going to join it as though it's the back loop. And now I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to single crochet back loop around. Now this, you might end up with some slight gapping here where the thumb meets the hand. You have a couple of options. You can either just sew the gap closed at the end using the ends when you weave them in, or you can, so here you can see this stitch here is the one that the hand worked into, not the one that the thumb is going to work into. So if you want to, instead of just skipping it, you can do a decrease and combine this loop with the next loop, and that helps a little bit. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to keep on going. So here, again, I got to skip the loop that I worked into there, and the chain 3, I worked into 3 of those chain stitches. Now I need to work into them again. So I only worked into 1 loop when I did the hand. I'm going to work into the other loops of each of those chain stitches from the thumb separation so that I pick up each of those stitches as I go around. And now again, this is the loop that the hand worked into, so it's not one of the thumb stitches unless you want to combine it with the next stitch, which you can do in order to help close up the gap. But I'm not going to do it today. I'm just going to keep going. So I had 11 stitches that I skipped when I did the thumb step separation, and then I have the 3 chain stitches from the thumb separation, and all of those get worked here as part of the thumb. So you should have 14 stitches around the thumb. If you find your thumb is a little bit too tight, you have a couple of options. One, I forgot to say that it's best to try it on right when you do the separation to make sure that it's not too tight. If you do that, you can add chain stitches at the separation, which is the easiest way to do it. But if you didn't do that, you can add a few single crochets at the thumb join if you want to. So you're just going to single crochet back loop around, or sorry, back loop only, until the thumb is whatever length you want it to be. And that is totally up to you, personal preference. You get to make it your own. I made my thumb I added about 5 rows to mine. And then again, when I tie this off, I will do one of those invisible joins. Anyway, so once you finish adding your thumb rows, so you could stop it there if you want a short row thumb. This one is about 5 rows. You could add more. I wouldn't add a lot more because you don't want to impede your thumb mobility. So 5 rows for me was about at that knuckle. So that is glove 2. I hope you enjoy it and stay tuned for glove 3. Happy crocheting.